Welcome to the program. Your host, Ron Whitlock. Our guest in the studio, State Representative Aaron Pena, D in brackets, Edinburg, Texas. Thank you for joining us. Representative Pena is here because he is astute and up on the proposed constitutional amendments, 16 of them, that are going to be on your election ballot Tuesday, November 6th. 7 a.m. when the polls open, 7 p.m. when the polls close, and you and I are going to try to learn more about what those individual 16 constitutional amendments mean and whether you or I need to be for or against them. Representative Pena, who's a member of the Valley Legislative Delegation from Deep South Texas, is going to try to give you a clue about which ones of those 16 constitutional amendments are indicated by our legislative delegation in Austin, which ones of those are perhaps more important to you and I to give consideration to, pro or con. We're going to try to give you an insight into that. First of all, Texas Senator John Cornin, our junior Texas senator from the state of Texas to the nation's capital, is finally now making good on his pledge made to you and I on this program that Homeland Security Secretary Michael Chertoff is finally coming to the Rio Grande Valley for more than a photo op. Here's Senator Cornyn when he made that commitment to you and I on this program. Would you join with these three entities in inviting Secretary Chertoff and maybe accompany him in coming down to the region?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, the meeting that we all three attended along with other border leaders just a few weeks ago in Washington, D.C., the Secretary said that he would come to the Valley and sometime the next, I think he said 30 to 45 days, and it'll be more than for just a photo opportunity. Hopefully we'll be able to show him some things that will help inform him and his agency better to try to strike the balance that we're all talking about between trade and commerce, that it benefits this entire region, both sides of the border, and the security that we know is an important part of that balance. So now we here on the program and Bill Summers, president of the Rio Grande Valley Partnership, have reissued our invitation to Homeland Security Chief Michael Chertoff to come to a public hearing now, not a closed hearing, tentatively to be held at the auditorium of the Whitlock Public Library in the city of Whitlock at the convenience of Secretary Chertoff and Texas U.S. Senator John Cornyn, to be set up and arranged there by this program and by Bill Summers of the Rio Grande Valley Partnership. Now, I asked Senator Cornyn's expected Democrat opponent in the re-election cycle coming up, that man being Rick Noriega, State Representative, Democrat of the city of Houston, if Noriega had praise for Cornyn's effort now to see that the people of the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas are finally heard from in a public venue by Secretary Michael Chertoff. Do you salute Secretary Chertoff for coming and Senator Cornyn for helping make that happen?
Well, I think that Secretary Chertoff needs to be responsive to both the professionals that have to work here on the border and the elected leadership that represents all the people along this border. That includes agribusiness folks. That includes issues dealing with the environment, landowners. There's a whole host of issues that someone needs to be accountable for this particular initiative, given that there is such a hue and cry against this particular wall, and I'm glad he's at least coming to face the music.
Now, Rick Noriega comes to Rio Grande Valley. The Mexican-American Hispanic Caucus sets him up as the chairman of a committee trying to find out more about border security. Undoubtedly is an effort to help him in his campaign, I would think. That's the attitude. Mr. Pena, you can respond or not respond to that perceived opinion and attitude, but Senator Cornyn now is working to bring Chertoff to the Valley for more than a photo op. Good idea for Cornyn and for Chertoff?
Oh yeah, should have been done a long time ago. A long time ago.
A lot of political damage been done in the meantime.
A lot of damage. I mean, we just finished talking about how Bush secured a large percentage of the Hispanic vote, and that has literally evaporated because of this immigration debate and the tenor of the debate.
And the border wall debate.
And the border wall debate. And so it's very astute for the Mexican-American Legislative Caucus, chaired by Representative Noriega, to come down here and look at the issue of border security. Don't get me wrong, we're all for border security, but it is the debate that's going on that has really polarized the electorate. The right going further to the right, the left going further to the left, and solutions are not being found. The citizens here are upset that the federal government is not solving this problem. So the state of Texas is having to spend its own resources to find solutions, and that's what's going on here.
Now, Valley Senator Chuy Hinojosa came on the program recently to say that Senator John Cornyn is out of touch with his constituents in the state of Texas.
I think Senator Cornyn is out of touch with the voters of the state of Texas, and so is President Bush. Just by looking at the polls and what they show in terms of support in this country, he has very little support because he doesn't really care about working families.
After those remarks, Eddie Lucio, the state senator from Brownsville, came on the program to tell you and I that Senator Cornyn, at this particular point in time, is the most vulnerable statewide elected official to be so vulnerable in the history of Texas over the last decade.
If there was ever a chance to defeat a major office holder in this state in the last 10 years, this is it. But it's still going to take someone running against him that can light the fire under the people of this great state, to get them out and vote, to make them believe that they will be in good hands with that person.
Chuy comes on board, says Cornyn is vulnerable, obviously, out of step. Lucio comes on board saying Cornyn is vulnerable. Your opinion, what would you do if you were Senator Cornyn that he's not doing? You say that you think he ought to be more in a general election mood because it's already started now with Noriega out there attacking him and he on the other side telling you and I that it's all politics, and we're going to let you see that right now. Senator Hinojosa has challenged you and says you're out of touch with your Texas constituents because of your S-chip vote. Your response to Senator Hinojosa?
Well, I'm not going to respond to Senator Hinojosa. It's purely a political comment. And, you know, there's plenty of time for politics. I'm here in the Valley, as I always have been, to try to solve problems. With regard to the S-chip vote, I voted for a 40% increase in spending to help poor kids get insurance.
So we just saw Senator Cornyn say what Chuy said, what Eddie said is all politics. Right or wrong, what should he have said?
Oh, he should have said, I'll be down there. And I was down there the other day, and I was down there the week before, and I was listening to people.
To defend my vote on S-chip, no, and my vote on the border wall and putting the border wall again and explaining why he did it?
Well, let me tell you, it seems to me as though he's still stuck in a primary election. There's nobody running against him. He doesn't have to pander to his base. He needs to literally take care of the people of Texas.
He being Senator Cornyn.
That's right. And the citizens of the border are saying, hey, please explain yourself. You tell us one thing when you're down here, but yet you do something else. I don't believe that it's all politics. There's some politics to it. But I think there's a reason to be critical that he's not here and that he's not responding to the wishes of Republicans in this area, not just Democrats.
So bringing Secretary Chertoff down for a more than a photo op, that means a public hearing where Secretary Chertoff is actually hearing from local officials in public with the media present, not at a closed-door meeting, as he's been criticized for doing in Laredo. But that would be a good first step for Senator Cornyn in his re-election effort.
Yeah, I can't say it enough. He needs to get down here and listen to people.
Okay, we have been promising you in the very beginning of this program, and we're now going to talk to you about it, the proposed constitutional amendments, 16 of them on your election ballot, that being Tuesday, November 6th. Polls open 7 o'clock in the morning, close 7 o'clock at night. Go to News Channel 5 for the results. Now, let's go through them, kind of wade through them just kind of briefly,
okay,
if you would. Representative Pena, tell us about each one of them, and then let's go back to the one that you and the Valley Legislative Delegation seem to think are the most important ones and significant for the Deep South Texas region.
Okay, let me just dive into the ones that I think that are most important because we may run out of time. The one that's got the most attention, that's getting all the publicity, is the one that Lance Armstrong is pushing. That is Proposition 15. Dealing
with cancer research.
That's right. $3 billion in bonds payable from the general revenues of the state in cancer research. Lance Armstrong came to the House of Representatives. He asked that we push this bill. I assisted in authoring the bill. We got
now on your screen a picture of Lance Armstrong meeting with Representative Pena at the state capitol on this issue at the time when he was telling you about how important this issue was for the people of Texas, is in his opinion.
That's right. The Texas Medical Association is on the radio, I heard it today, advocating that we pass this so we can deal with this issue of cancer prevention and research. And so that's 15 There is some criticism that it is an expense that Texas is having to take on to secure these bonds, but that I think is coming from a small quarter. Most people, I believe, are in favor of Proposition 15, and it should pass.
And that would be not only used in research in curing cancer, which has affected, I'm sure, every viewer to this program watching at this particular point in time, but also our infrastructure in those learning centers with the research, those funds going into our universities and to our healthcare system in the state of Texas.
That's right, and we have the Regional Academic Health Center, which is perfectly situated to receive some of those funds.
Edinburg and Cornin.
That's exactly right. Now let me move on to Proposition 16, which is important because this has to do with the EDAP funds. That's the Economically Distressed Areas Program. It's $250 million in bonds for water development in disadvantaged parts of the state. Translation, the Valley, from Brownsville to Laredo, that's where most of this money will come. And so it is my suggestion that, that we vote for this proposition, because this is money the state of Texas is going to direct down to us to help us develop our water system. And so this is a win-win, I believe, for the border.
These would go to municipalities, to the North Alamo water system, military highway water system. Those kinds of water systems can go in and develop wastewater and potable water infrastructure.
That's right, and that money is coming. This is drafted in such a way that the region that's going to receive these monies is our region. And so if you want to look for a valley proposition, Proposition 16 is that proposition. Now, jumping to another proposition, which is what I would consider a valley proposition, is Proposition 4. This is a proposition that issues up to $1 billion in bonds from the general revenues of the state for maintenance and improvements of projects in the area of criminal justice, public safety. Translation, this is a $200 million a project for the development of regional DPS offices, one of them being in the McAllen-Edinburg region. And so this will benefit, if you're concerned about immigration, if you're concerned about safety and security on the border, the DPS will benefit from this. We need this down here. We're growing in huge numbers, and this money is necessary for a project in the valley. So again, this is another what I would call valley project and worth voting for, in my opinion.
Next one of importance, Representative Aaron Pena, to the valley, in your opinion, is?
Proposition 2. Proposition 2 is straightforward, $500 million in bonds to fund student loans. We have a growing young population, and there is a loan program which offers low-interest loans to Texas college students, and it's about to run out of money in 2009. And so the state needs voter approval to reissue $500 million to continue that program. And so that's what Proposition 2 is.
Now, South Texas' average age in the mid-20s, average age in North Texas probably in the mid-30s.
Right. The real growth of the valley is not only NAFTA, but it is the education of a generation. And so we have a very young population, much younger than the rest of the population. We need to educate our kids.
That's why the Aldine School District's appealing to bicultural, bilingual Hispanics living in South Texas to move to their district, move north of I-10 to help educate children in the rest of Texas.
That's right. Increasingly, we are learning as a state that the reason that we suffer well during these economic downturns is because we have a very close business relationship with Latin America, and that is our future. And so we need to educate these folks. We need to educate our kids. And that means for our community offering low-interest loans to kids who want to go to college. And so that's Proposition 2. If you believe in that, vote for it. I would suggest that you do.
So the highlights from Representative Pena, the Valley delegation thus far at legislature in Austin, Proposition 4, 15, 16, and 2. Others would be?
Proposition 9. We have a large veteran population here in the Valley. As you know, we're all clamoring for the Veterans Hospital, and we're moving forward to find some sort of relief to honor the service of our veterans. Proposition 9 allows the state to exempt homesteads of disabled veterans from property taxes on a sliding scale tied to the level of disability. So if that's something that you want to do to help out the veteran living in your community, the senior citizen, Proposition 9 is for you. And that is, I think...
Disabled veterans would no longer have to pay property taxes if this proposition were to be approved.
Well, it depends on their level of disability and on a sliding scale. So if they, if they're a multiple amputee, I'm sure that they would have to pay fewer taxes than somebody with...
5 down, 11 to go. See if we can make it.
Okay. Well, we have some here that just seem like, where in the world did that come from? When I went over to vote, somebody said, Mr. Pena, please tell me what this Proposition 10 is about removing the Inspector of Hides and Animals from the Constitution. That appears to me to be some old provision where we had a titled individual.
Horse and buggy days.
Horse and buggy days, and we're simply cleaning up the Constitution to remove this inspector.
Next.
The next one would be Proposition 11. A lot of times people are concerned that they don't know how their legislators vote. And the newspaper industry, the press, and good government citizens have been saying, hey, record those votes so we can see them. Sometimes it's a voice vote. This Proposition 11 requires that the final votes on bills be recorded.
Proposition 10.
Proposition 10 is the one we went over regarding hides and the Inspector of Hides and Animals.
Proposition 12.
Proposition 12 is $5 billion in bonds for transportation, and so we need to continue funding our highway system for improvement projects, and that's what that's about.
And the Valley obviously continues to have great needs, even though there's a lot of construction on Valley highways. There's a lot of transportation needs vital, especially the completion of the interstate from Corpus Christi to the Port of Brownsville.
That's right, and we are growing so fast, I am concerned that we won't be able to keep up. Proposition 13, this allows judges to deny bail to people who violated protective orders or who violated bond orders in family violence cases. Sounds like a good proposition, and I would strongly suggest that we approve it. Remember that in order to make it to this level, it has to have gone through the legislature several times. And so this was voted upon by the legislature to present to the voters. So
could these have been vetoed by Governor Perry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So these would have been law other than the Constitution required that it go back to the voters.
Right. And
Next.
so, okay. Let me jump back to
Run out of time. 2 minutes.
Proposition 5. Let small towns under 10,000 population freeze appraised values of properties in redevelopment areas. Okay. Very simple, straightforward. Proposition 7 lets government sell back property acquired through eminent domain to the original owners at the original price instead of the market value. You know, when I walked in that booth to vote, many of the people
You voted early.
I voted early already. People said, "Gosh, you need a lawyer to understand this," and I will tell you, preparing for this program
as a lawyer,
they were right. We need to simplify this language so that people can understand. But it's good that you hold this program so that people can understand that.
Any others we have not covered?
I think you've covered those that. There's some other really simple ones that allows somebody to exempt a taxpayer's personal vehicle used for business or occupation purposes. That's Proposition 6. Very straightforward, but I think that's essentially it. It sounds complicated. Let me just offer this. If anybody wants more assistance, they can call my office at 383-7444.
Or you can go to the website of the Texas Legislative Council. It is at www.tlc.state.tx.us, or you can go to valleynewsline.tv. We'll put a link at our website, linking you directly to that website, and you can bring up this entire document. It is called The Analysis of Proposed Constitutional Amendments, November 6th, 2007 election. You can get all of this on your computer 24/7 at your casita, your home. Proposition 8 we did not cover because even though an attorney, Representative Pena, said he couldn't simplify it quickly enough, put it forward to you on this program. But we do appreciate you coming, taking the time to try to help us understand what we're voting for or against when we go into that voting booth Tuesday, November 6th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Need to go and vote. Till next time, adios.